Hello, welcome to another edition of the Fifth Quarter. I'm Mike Ciarochi from the Herald-Standard, and I'm joined as always by George von Benko from WMBS Radio. We are here today to talk about the Steelers' upcoming game against the Philadelphia Eagles, the 3-1 Philadelphia Eagles at the Heinz Field this Sunday. George, on paper it looks like an easy win for the Eagles.
Well, it does, but that's an ugly 3-1 record. I mean, they've gotten there by Michael Vick almost being decapitated half the time. I think going into that game with the Giants in the games prior to that, he had been hit like 27 times, but they did a very good job in the 1917 win, which doesn't bode well for the Steelers, of protecting him. That was the best job they had done. And the Giants usually have a pretty reliable pass rush.
Yeah, and I think if Mike Tomlin were here, he would say right now that he'd take an ugly 3-1 over
an even uglier 1-2.
An uglier 1-2, correct?
Right, yes.
But the Steelers are getting healthy. We heard from the coach earlier this week that they had only one guy who was perhaps going to miss a little practice, and he's going to be good to go for the game. I believe that was Marcus Gilbert.
Right, the tackle, which, the important people are James Harrison.
Right.
And I'm still waiting for, he practiced yet, but he's got to put several practices together, which he has not been able to do. Polamalu looked great last week, so I think he was getting healthy, so he's going to be back. And the guy who's really looked good is Mendenhall, has looked good, but they've been very careful with him.
Yeah, and he's the guy that can really give them a boost in the running game. He's got several 1,000-yard seasons under his belt, and they have struggled with the running game. Part of that's the offensive line, I'm sure. Part of it is the runners behind the line. So we'll see how effective that can be this week.
This is a huge game, and I hate to say that this early in the season, but I don't think the Steelers can realistically afford to go to 1-3 at this point, especially when you look at what's going on around them. Miami will be at Cincinnati. Miami is 1-3, so the Bengals look good to go to 4-1. Baltimore's at Kansas City, and they've got all kind of problems. They were throttled last week by the Chargers. They're 1-3, so Baltimore could go to 4-1. If they would lose to the Eagles, they would be 2.5 games behind at this point. That's tough ground to make up.
Plus, they're on the road 2 weeks after that at Tennessee on a Thursday night NFL Network game, and then at Cincinnati. So that's when they get their first taste of division football.
So you don't want to say this is a must-win, but
it's
an important game.
Right, and when you only have one win out of 3 games, they all become pretty important.
Well, the last 1-3 start from a historical perspective was 2006, and they did finish 6-2, but that wasn't even enough to get them in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you see this game playing out?
Well, they're going to need to do something to get Vic out of his comfort zone, and you run the risk of him running the ball against you then because he's so mobile. But in 3 games, the defense has generated only 5 sacks and 3 turnovers.
Yeah, I think that the defense, if you could, if it's not the running game that's their biggest problem, the defense is right up there. They're probably 1 and 1A in terms of concerns with the team. They just haven't been effective in holding leads. They gave up, a couple or 3 10-point leads against the Raiders before the bye.
And they're on a pace right now to do something historic. They haven't given up 400 points in the season in years, and they're on a pace right now to give up 400 points.
Of course, Ben Roethlisberger has the Steelers' passing game offense going pretty well. He's really off to a terrific start passing the ball, and I think he's really getting up nice and cozy with the Todd Haley offense.
Well, we had the minor flap over him supposedly calling something that wasn't in the playbook, and Ben, everyone, and you and I have talked about this before. Every once in a while, he says things that he shouldn't say.
But you know what? I don't care how far back he goes to get the plays. If he sees a play that'll work, and he and the receiver are on the same page.
The question is whether or not it ruffles Todd Haley's feather. Apparently, it hasn't, because I saw him earlier, and he didn't seem to be, too put out about it. So they have to play better. I mean, it's simple as that, Mike. I mean, they're not playing up to some of their capabilities.
Right, they can't sleepwalk through any more games, that's for sure, and expect to win them. Okay, we got about a minute left. Maybe we should get into the predicting part of this.
Well, I just think it's so important for Pittsburgh that I have to go with them because they need this game that badly. I think it's going to be a close one, like 17-14, something like that.
I'm not so convinced that they're as good as we make them out to be. The Steelers, meaning,
Well, that might very well be.
I look as you do for the Eagles to keep this game close, and I'm kind of leaning a little more toward the Eagles pulling out a win here. I'll say maybe I'll go with the same score you said, 24-21 Eagles.
Yeah, and the other thing, I say 17-14 Steelers, but the other thing that bothers me, and we haven't even touched on it, we'll end with this, they're not getting any boost from their special teams either.
No. It showed a lot of promise in the preseason, but not a lot of results in the regular season.
It's been flat. Yeah.
Okay, with that, we will wrap up this edition. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.
At theherald-standard.com, our mission is to provide news, information, and services to enable our communities to prosper. Every day, we strive to achieve this goal through 3 dynamic products. Wake up each morning to a copy of the Herald-Standard.com newspaper delivered to your home. Enjoy the e-edition and exact replica of our print product on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Or secure unlimited access to our full-coverage digital news site online at Herald-Standard.com. One local news leader, 3 great options.